Yorkers just got a new logo, and they're not happy about it. The new We Love NYC logo and campaign directed specifically at New Yorkers has recently launched in Times Square. It intends to be an update to the iconic and original 46-year-old I Love New York logo designed by the iconic graphic designer Milton Glaser. It's not often that a piece of graphic design comes along and offends a whole city. So why was the logo redesigned? Why are New Yorkers mad? Is it that bad? And what's the significance of this logo anyway? To get a clear understanding, we have to start with the origins of the original I Love New York logo. It was the 1970s and New York City was in crisis. Crime was up, the Bronx was on fire, unemployment was at an all-time high, and the city was spiraling into complete anarchy. And to top it off, the city was on the verge of bankruptcy. The 1970s is often referred to as one of New York's bleakest moments, and it definitely wasn't a place that anyone wanted to visit. In 1976, William Doyle, the Deputy Commissioner of New York State's Department of Commerce, hired the advertising agency Wells Rich Green. He asked them to develop a marketing campaign for New York State. The goal of this campaign was to promote tourism to New York State and show people how great the state actually was. In a nutshell, they basically wanted to reignite the love for New York. The famous phrase, "I love New York," was created by Mary Wells Lawrence and Charlie Moss, the principal and creative director at the ad agency. They had a slogan, a jingle, and a commercial, but they were missing the last piece, a logo. And that's where Milton Glaser came in. Milton Glaser was a New York City native and a graphic designer. At the time, he was known for designing the poster Bob Dylan's Greatest Hits, and before that, he had founded New York Magazine with Clay Felker. The magazine was about being on the reader's side and everything that was going on in New York City at the time. While in the back of a taxi on the way to the meeting with Wells Rich Green, Milton Glaser drew what would later become the iconic I Love New York logo on a piece of scrap paper with a red crayon. The agency loved it and they asked him to develop it further. The first version of it was comprised of the letter I, the heart shape, followed by NY, all in the same line. In a later version, he decided to stack the letters, as we see in the version that we've all come to know. In the final version, the I and the NY letters are set in a round slab serif typeface called American Typewriter. And today that sketch that he drew in the back of a taxi cab is held by the MoMA here in New York City. When Milton Glaser was working on this logo, he assumed that this campaign would only last for a few months, so he actually did the project for free. He loved New York City and he wanted to see it rise again, and he actually hoped that this logo would become part of the public domain after the fact. The logo in the campaign launched in 1977, and I think we can all say that the rest is history. In 2019, I was fortunate enough to meet Milton Glaser himself and work on a project that captured his thoughts on the I Love New York logo.
It wasn't an ad to urge you to buy another pair of pants. It was a cry that everybody was feeling in the city. And this was part of a larger scheme to re-energize the city, and it worked. People saw it and they identified with it and they were proud of it. So it didn't say buy, it said be proud of where you are, let's make it better. And that was great. I mean, it was, I have no idea why it persisted to the degree that it did. This was 1977, and it's still around in every street practically in the world because I guess everybody was longing to say, I love something.
Over the years, the I Love New York logo has become closely associated with New York City. It's become as recognizable as the Empire State Building or the Statue of Liberty. Even today, if you walk into any souvenir shop around Times Square, you'll find the I Love New York logo on anything, from t-shirts to mugs to keychains to golf balls to literally anything that you can think of. After the September 11th attacks, Milton Glaser reimagined his I Love New York logo. He amended it to I Love New York More Than Ever, with a little black spot on the heart that symbolized the World Trade Center site. This was the time that New Yorkers needed a sense of unity more than ever. The poster was printed in the New York Daily News as a call to raise funds for charities that supported those affected by the attacks. The line printed at the bottom of the poster read, "Be generous, your city needs you. This poster is not for sale." Glaser encouraged that this poster be distributed for free, and in the end, the fundraiser garnered $190,000 for New Yorkers that were affected. The I Love New York logo has transcended far beyond New York City and New York State and has become a global cultural icon. In any corner of the globe, there's a really high probability that you'll find another state's or another country's interpretation of this logo. Countless parodies have been made. Even Apple once made a pinback button with the red version of the apple replacing the heart for the 2001 Macworld Expo in New York City. So after 46 years, whose idea was it to finally change the logo? As any good graphic design horror story would begin, it was the idea of the Partnership for New York City, a bunch of business executives, corporations, and elected officials. And I'd say with that many cooks in the kitchen, any design is going to be at a disadvantage. This swarm of executives drew a parallel between 1970s New York City and current day New York City, with the current economic downturn and division. And I just want to jump in here real quick and say, as someone who lives in New York City, I don't think we're anywhere near 1970s New York City. President Catherine Wilde said, "We decided to modernize Glaser's logo to reflect the current times." According to them, that meant a heart emoji and swapping the American typewriter type style with sans serif caps referencing Helvetica, the typeface on New York City's subway signage. The designer of the new logo, Graham Clifford, said, "The subway system is the veins or the beating heart of the city. You can have Wall Street types sitting next to construction workers. It's a place where you can bring everybody together, and we're cognizant of that." It sounds like Graham really did have good intentions for this logo, but I think, as we know, in the court of public opinion, intent is often overruled by interpretation. The new logo and campaign rolled out in Times Square on Monday, March 23rd, 2023. It was immediately met with backlash, and it's best if you hear it from New Yorkers themselves. So, is the logo that bad? Is everybody overreacting? Well, we could sit here and debate about what it looks like all day, but at the end of the day, looks are subjective. And any good graphic designer will tell you that design is not about decorating, it's about communication and problem solving. I actually think that Milton Glaser might have answered our question a long time ago when he said, "There's an enormous pressure to repeat past successes. That's a sure death." He was actually referencing the 1960s psychedelic motif that he created for the Bob Dylan poster he designed when he said this, but I think this quote's actually very appropriate. This new campaign could have been absolutely anything, but they chose to attempt to recreate the past success of the original I Love New York campaign. And in my opinion, that's where they failed. This was an opportunity to create something new, exciting, and energizing for New York City, and it doesn't feel like a new perspective. I think it's fair to say that most people don't like change, but they do like exciting new things. It's a subtle distinction, but change comes with the loss of what's familiar. Whereas newness is something that you experience for the first time, making new memories, but not at the cost of losing the old ones. New York City has energy like no other place, and it's really hard to describe if you've never experienced New York. But the simplest way I can try to describe it is, nobody loves New York like New York. Milton Glaser didn't set out to capture all of that when he was designing the I Love New York logo. I think that would have been an impossible job. I Love New York isn't just a logo. It's become a symbol that embodies New York and a sense of pride. It has that power because people believe it does, because it actually means something to them. And I think that's why it's been iconic for so long and why people are so strongly defending it now. I think Milton Glaser's generosity in both the making of the original I Love New York logo for the love of New York and the I Love New York more than ever in support of New Yorkers embodies what it is to be a New Yorker, and I think it's as simple as that. But with all that said, what do you think? Do you like the new logo?